Dawn breaks over central Poland. A low mist hangs above the tarmac at Powid's air base. Then, a sound. A deep metallic rumble rolling across the plains. Cargo bays open. Hydraulic arms lower steel-gray fuselages marked with faded U.S. Air Force insignia. The silhouettes are unmistakable. A-10 Warthogs. Dozens. Then hundreds. Engines ignite one by one. The air vibrates with the staccato rhythm of turbines spinning to life. Ground crews move fast, guiding the aircraft into formation under floodlights. Technicians tighten bolts, check gun barrels, load fuel lines. No ceremony. No pause. Every movement rehearsed. The smell of kerosene mixes with morning fog. From orbiting satellites, the scene unfolds in high resolution. Washington knows. Brussels knows. Moscow knows. Within minutes, Russian early warning radars in Kaliningrad detect the first echoes. Low signatures, slow speed, unmistakable flight pattern. Command terminals in the Western Military District light up with alerts. Unknown concentration of A-10s at Polish coordinates, 52.42 north, 17.83 east. Priority red. At 07:12, the first wave lifts off. Gray hulls glide low over farmland. Their engines growl in pairs, hugging terrain. Civilian observers post videos before officials can react. 10 aircraft, then 20. Then a formation stretching beyond horizon. The captions spread fast. U.S. Warthogs moving east. Something big is happening in Poland. Inside the Kremlin, secure lines open. Monitors fill with live feeds and radar traces. Duty officers brief command. Multiple takeoffs. Altitude under 1,000 meters, vector northeast. No transponder signals. Not a drill. The Defense Control Center requests confirmation from Belarusian radars. Same results. Moving east in groups of 6. Spacing constant. Altitude steady. Patterns of intent. At the same hour, at Lask Air Base, maintenance crews work in silence. Rows of assembled A-10s wait under camouflaged netting. The Joe U-8 Avenger cannons shine faintly under portable lights. Mechanics mark each airframe with fresh NATO identification codes. Fuel trucks roll between wings like ants. A storm of preparation without a single public statement. Across the Atlantic, the Pentagon issues a brief line. Routine deployment and interoperability training. No images, no details. Yet traffic at European command networks spikes. Secure channels hum with encrypted chatter. The number, over 200 operational A-10s confirmed in theater, circulates through Allied servers within the hour. In Moscow, disbelief. The morning briefing halts mid-sentence. Intelligence analysts cross-check satellite archives. No gradual build-up. No prior notice. The movement is sudden, compressed, precise. Hours, not weeks. The Chief of Staff requests immediate reconnaissance over Kaliningrad corridor. Ground radar screens fill with flickering arcs. Over northeastern Poland, contrails cut the clouds in straight lines. Columns of Warthogs maneuver in layered altitude bands, covering sectors along the Lithuanian border. Air traffic controllers reroute civilian flights south. Farmers below stop their tractors and look up. The sound of engines rolls like distant thunder over frozen fields. Every sensor in Russia's western grid turns east. Tracking stations in Smolensk, Pskov, Minsk report identical readings. Unprecedented density of NATO aircraft signatures. Frequencies overlap. Data streams jam. Engineers recalibrate systems in real time. Commanders demand identification codes. None match. At Aero 946, the first press briefings appear in European media. Increased NATO activity in eastern Poland. Unusual air presence detected near Suwalki Gap. The Kremlin's response arrives 30 minutes later. Measured, cautious, uncertain. Monitoring ongoing exercises. But inside closed rooms, the tone is different. Raised voices, hands on maps, calculations scribbled in haste. In the Situation Room below Moscow's Defense Ministry, the wall displays flash images from reconnaissance drones. Each frame shows clusters of A-10s taxiing in precise patterns. Maintenance hangars reconfigured overnight. Ammunition crates visible near service roads. The words from one colonel break through the noise. This scale. We haven't seen it since the Cold War. By noon, the air bases in Poland operate at full tempo. Supply convoys arrive from Ramstein and Aviano. C-17s unload pallets of spare parts, ammunition belts, targeting pods. The roar of engines never stops. Civilians in nearby towns feel the vibration through windows. Local authorities issue brief traffic restrictions, citing temporary NATO activity. Over the Baltic coast, AWACS orbits widen. Surveillance coverage extends across Lithuania and western Belarus. Radio frequencies buzz with encrypted call signs. Analysts trace coordination grids expanding eastward. The rhythm of deployment is methodical, clockwork. Each hour adds new aircraft to the map. In Kaliningrad, Russian surface-to-air units shift positions. Radar dishes rotate toward Poland. Operators watch screens fill with targets at low altitude. Numbers climb too fast to verify manually. Reports pile up on desks. The question repeats in each line of communication. Are they preparing for drills or something else? Evening falls over Warsaw. The sky glows faintly from the west, reflecting lights of air bases still active. Trucks move under blackout discipline, headlights covered. A-10 pilots run final checks under dim red lamps. Their call signs, Razor, Steel, Hawk, register on encrypted NATO frequencies. Command posts confirm readiness across 5 bases. Inside the Kremlin, silence stretches across the command floor. Phones ring without response. Intelligence reports stack faster than they can be read. The phrase repeats in every update. Mass concentration of U.S. A-10 assets near border regions. No one yet defines it as threat. No one calls it coincidence. And somewhere over the plains of eastern Poland, the engines of the last Warthog fade into darkness. The ground trembles once, then stills. Monitors in Moscow continue to blink. Coordinates shift. Icons multiply. Each signal, each engine pulse, each shadow on the radar, part of a pattern no one expected to see again. Under the overcast skies of northern Poland, the next phase begins. The air no longer rests. Every few minutes, engines ignite, turbines howl, and the rhythm of takeoffs merges into a single mechanical heartbeat. Control towers at Powidz, Lask, and Miroslaviec synchronize departure windows. On command screens, green dots align, disperse, regroup. NATO's Eastern Air Corridor becomes a grid of motion. In Brussels, Situation Room monitors glow blue. Alliance staff track A-10 sorties moving in layered arcs toward the Suwalki corridor. The pattern is unmistakable. Training formations, but too dense, too deliberate. Analysts cross-reference routes with ground assets. Polish mechanized brigades mobilized in overlapping drills. A live rehearsal for coordination under contested skies. The fog of exercise blurs into the logic of deterrence. Each aircraft flies low, its flight path slicing through valleys and forests. Civilian radar stations along the Lithuanian border flicker with intermittent contacts. Local operators mark unknown signals, then lose them behind terrain. The A-10s are built for this: low altitude, precision, invisibility to conventional tracking. At 11:30, Russian command posts in Kaliningrad record a surge of electronic activity. Data bursts on NATO frequencies, encrypted and fragmented. Signal analysts attempt to isolate command channels, but encryption layers multiply. Frustration grows inside the bunker complex at Chkalovsk. Every intercepted pulse points to coordination across multiple Allied bases. By early afternoon, NATO's Air Operations Command in Ramstein confirms full synchronization. A-10 squadrons from the US, Poland, and the UK rotate through 3-hour patrol cycles. Each flight pair maintains constant visual range with the next. Above them, F-16 and Typhoon fighters orbit higher altitudes, forming a canopy of rapid response. The airspace over eastern Poland becomes a living diagram of deterrence. In Moscow, tension hardens. A new command directive circulates through the General Staff. Increased readiness of Western units. The tone is clipped, bureaucratic, but the urgency bleeds through. Air defense regiments in Kaliningrad activate standby protocols. Radar operators mark the border in red, tracking any deviation beyond Polish airspace. Screens inside the Kremlin compound reflect the blue hue of the situation map. Each blinking mark represents a potential confrontation. Analysts run simulations, response times, interception windows, risk projections. None of the numbers satisfy command. Every path ends in escalation. Every calculation turns the same conclusion: the A-10s are too many, too close. Across NATO headquarters, the language remains restrained. Enhanced readiness operation. Interoperability phase. No press statements, no images, only silence between encrypted briefings. But in the digital background, the data flow is relentless. Imagery updates, telemetry, thermal traces. Each confirms what the alliance already knows. The deployment is operational. By nightfall, the Suwalki corridor glows faintly under infrared surveillance. Convoys of support vehicles move along dirt roads. Ground crews establish mobile refueling points. Portable lights blink in coded intervals, invisible to the untrained eye. The A-10 squadrons circle above, engines throttled low, maintaining position in the cold night air. In Kaliningrad, search radars strain to maintain lock. Signal interference increases. Operators switch frequencies, but NATO's jamming pattern is surgical. Pulses timed to confuse without full blackout. Russian command interprets it as a test. Analysts draft urgent memoranda for Moscow. Possible rehearsal of electronic suppression near borders. At dawn, satellite imagery confirms expansion. New rows of A-10s parked at auxiliary strips near Bydgoszcz and Deblin. Logistic routes stretch westward, linking fuel depots and maintenance hubs. Every line drawn on the map connects to another, forming a chain across Central Europe. For observers, it's a logistical marvel. For Moscow, a waking nightmare. The Kremlin briefings grow shorter, sharper. Reports of unidentified maneuvers circulate across ministries. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs drafts formal inquiries to NATO, demanding clarification. No direct response. Only official statements repeating scheduled training. Behind closed doors, advisors exchange glances that betray unease. Across the Atlantic, Washington monitors quietly. The tone is measured. Internal reports confirm seamless coordination. Zero technical incidents. The objective, unspoken but clear, is psychological. Visibility as strategy. The Warthogs' presence is the message. The low roar over the Polish countryside speaks louder than any communique. In Minsk, Belarusian Air Command joins the watch. Screens flood with overlapping radar echoes. Su-30 interceptors scramble from Baranovichi, climbing to shadow the unidentified flights along the edge of Belarusian airspace. No contact is made, no warnings transmitted, just silent observation. Every movement logged, every altitude shift recorded. Over Lithuania, NATO surveillance aircraft extend patrol corridors. Sensors sweep across Kaliningrad's defensive grid. The data streams converge at Allied Command Europe, each byte forming a live mosaic of the frontier. The image is stark, eastward tension mapped in real time. Analysts call it a new geometry of air power. In Moscow, the hours blur. Ministers cycle through command rooms, each arrival greeted by new reports, new images, the same unanswered question. If this is deterrence, where does it end? Lines on maps shift, grow dense, blur into the threshold of confrontation. The term controlled escalation enters internal discussions, but control feels abstract now. Night again. The air bases in Poland hum like engines themselves. Spotlights sweep across metallic hulls, marking serial numbers, confirming readiness. Crew chiefs move between aircraft, adjusting flight plans for the next rotation. On a nearby runway, 3 A-10s taxi in silence, their navigation lights dimmed. The last frame from a surveillance drone shows them rising into cloud cover, turning northeast. In the Kremlin, screens dim to standby mode, but the radar feeds never stop. Operators lean over glowing consoles, eyes tracing arcs that appear and vanish in endless repetition. Each blip a question, each signal a warning. The room is silent except for the hum of machines. The night outside is still, but the air above the frontier remains alive. Morning breaks again over Europe, and for the first time in weeks, the skies are clear. The A-10s rest in ordered lines across Polish airfields, engines silent, wings streaked with the dust of endless sorties. The operation that began as a rumor and grew into a wave of speculation now stands complete. What was once a symbol of alarm has become a framework of stability. Reports flow through NATO's command network. Every aircraft accounted for, every objective met. The deployment proved the logistics, coordination, and endurance of Allied air power under real conditions. No accidents, no violations of foreign airspace. The data collected across thousands of flight hours now feeds into the next stage. Modernization. In Washington, briefings shift tone from reaction to analysis. Engineers outline the upgraded A-10C Plus configuration, reinforced composite wings, advanced targeting pods, extended range fuel systems. The GAU-8 cannon remains unchanged, too efficient to replace. But the avionics now integrate with next-generation satellite navigation and precision strike modules. This is no museum revival. It is the evolution of a proven system into the future battlefield. For the crews on the ground, the lessons are technical and human. Maintenance cycles shortened, refueling speeds improved, mission turnaround times reduced by almost 40%. Each procedure refined under pressure becomes doctrine. For the Polish and Baltic units that trained alongside the Americans, the benefit is immediate. Interoperability not on paper, but in practice. Shared protocols, shared confidence. In Brussels, defense ministers present the results to the alliance. The conclusion is clear. The exercise reinforced deterrence, tested rapid mobility, and demonstrated Allied cohesion. But beyond the politics, a quieter realization settles in military reports. Modern defense depends less on new weapons than on the precision of cooperation. Systems alone do not secure peace. discipline does. Strategically, the deployment redefined the eastern frontier. Permanent readiness centers are proposed in Poland and Lithuania, small but efficient, each capable of sustaining air operations within minutes of activation. Satellite data collection expanded across the Baltic Rim, giving real-time awareness of movement across the region. Europe's air shield, once theoretical, now has coordinates, procedures, and names. In Kaliningrad, the tension eases. Russian radar logs show normal civilian traffic again. The noise of interference fades. Within Kremlin briefings, the tone turns pragmatic. The lesson is understood. Visible strength can stabilize as effectively as it can threaten. The fear of surprise recedes, replaced by a reluctant respect for the precision of NATO's timing. For civilians who watched the events unfold from the ground, the days of roaring engines left something lasting. Children who waved flags by the fences now see the aircraft as part of a larger rhythm. Not aggression, but assurance. The presence that once startled now signals safety. Local economies benefit from renewed infrastructure, training programs, and steady contracts for logistics and energy supply. Stability becomes tangible. Every military operation leaves a civilian mirror, a reminder that security is sustained by preparation, not panic. The same principle applies beyond the airfields. In health, in governance, in daily life, readiness replaces fear. Observation, coordination, precision. The same triad that guided the pilots now defines resilience on the ground. Practical guidance emerges from the debriefings. Maintain endurance, focus, and adaptability. For nations, this means investment in infrastructure and alliances. For individuals, it translates to physical conditioning, mental discipline, and situational awareness. The habits that keep systems and people alert. Routine becomes a form of protection. Analysts summarize the broader gain. The A-10 mission validated the integration of legacy and innovation. Old frames upgraded with modern intelligence. It mirrors the logic of sustainable strength. Improve what works, discard what doesn't, and never allow complacency. The exercise was not an act of provocation, but a rehearsal for prevention. As the final debrief concludes, the narrative closes quietly. The Warthogs remain stationed, ready but grounded, their engines cooled, their pilots resting. The air bases hum with maintenance and training, not alarm. Europe's skies return to calm, shaped by a lesson written in precision and restraint. The conclusion is technical, not rhetorical. Deterrence succeeded because it was visible, measured, and controlled. The strategy of presence replaced the strategy of fear. Strength became structure, and as the last line of the report states, simple and unadorned, stability is not achieved through escalation, but through readiness maintained every day, in systems, in alliances, in people.